of respect. Today I want to talk with you all about respect, or as I like to call it, real expect or real expectations. It even sounds like respect, real expect, real expectations, which to me is about knowing what something is or understanding what it is and not trying to make it into something else or abuse it, which kind of has to do with illusion and our perceptions and our intentions. Having the right perception, not being blinded by what we want things to be and trying to interact with them as such, and also having the right intentions when we deal with a certain concept. Because I can't go into a laundromat with the intention of acquiring some Chinese food. I could. It's possible someone there might have a takeout and they might be willing to share with me, but let's be honest with ourselves, it's less likely than going into an actual Chinese takeout and getting the food there. That's just, logically speaking, the odds are quite different there. But, yeah, so respect. What is it? How does it work? I find that a lot of times, because this word is so passed around and so it's just misused. It's just tossed around without people having any actual understanding of what it is. So they'll say, oh, I really lost respect for that person, or I really gained respect, or that person has really gained my respect. Well, first of all, let's look at what respect actually is, and then we'll see that what they're saying actually doesn't make any sense. For instance, best example I can give you, unfortunately, it has to do with something that I don't exactly agree with or advocate, which is guns. Even though, then again, you see, maybe we just haven't found a practical use for guns yet. Maybe instead of using them to hurt each other, maybe we could use them for construction. We have nail guns. Hey, not all guns are bad. It's just, I guess, guns that are purposed for hurting others. Ridiculous. But anyways, before we go into a tangent there, so when someone is being instructed in the ways of how to use, care for, deal with guns, etc., one of the first things that they're told is respect it. Respect the gun. What does this mean? This means you're not like, looking into the barrel and, you're not like, oh, let me see what this barrel tastes like. You're not flipping it around, trying to be John Wayne and all of that. And, respect it. This is a gun. And if used improperly, there could be unfavorable consequences. So, from that moment, because the key is knowing, and understand the potential that this concept has if improperly used. You understand what its supposed purpose is, what it's supposed to be used for, and you understand what it's not to be used for. It's not to be used for flipping it around and being ridiculous, because something consequential could come about and probably won't like it very much. So, if we apply this situation when we're talking about dealing with other beings, say a manager at your job, they have a position which is manager. That's kind of like a description, that goes about them. That comes with a list of connotations. That person can apply some sort of disciplinary action to you. They can, cause you to get fired, things like that. So, by what we just talked about, the laws of respect, we want to talk about flipping around with things. You don't really want to flip around with them, because if you do, you might get some kind of consequential action that you might not like. So you want to deal with them accordingly to their connotations and accordingly to, what their properties are. But at the same time, now that person might be a manager, but also might be incompetent in enforcing their authority, or they might be like kind of a temporary wishy-washy manager, as in they don't really have any real power. So that's other properties and connotations that have come into play. So now, respectively, or in relation to those properties, now we have a whole different ball game. We have totally new rules now. So now, when it comes to respect, if we flip around with them a little bit, we may not actually receive a consequential reaction. You see, so it's all about the given properties of a certain situation or concept. It's in respect to or in relation to. So when people give you an answer, if you were to say, what does respect mean to you? And they say, oh, it means treat people the way you want to be treated. Nope. No. Because everyone is not you, and you are not everyone. Well, we are in the cosmic, sense of the word, but we pick up connotations, we pick up these programs and things like that, and in relation to those, if we're going to act in respect to or respectively to those programs and conditions, we're going to have to recognize that they're different. And because they're different, it's going to take different formulas and different, ways of maneuvering to deal with them. The same way, like, you might have to respect a state. You might have to respect the state that someone is in. Like, you can't, while someone is crying or in a very, terrible mood, walk up to them and be like, man, I'm having the best day ever, man, I'm having the best day of my life. Because it's like, you respect or act respectively or in relation to the state that they're in. The same way that someone is, if someone is drunk, respecting, or in other words, understanding what it means for someone to be drunk or intoxicated means you're not going to say, hey, bro, drive my car, man. Let's go. Let's get, because you respect and you understand that if you fool around with this thing, if you fool around, flip it around, even though you know what it is and you know what not to do with it, if you flip around with it and mess around with it, the consequences may be unfavorable. So, to me, that's what respect is all about. Acting respectively, or acting within, within your means, or within like a safe way, to where nothing ridiculous or unfavorable is going to happen to you. But it all has to do with properties. It has to do with the properties of the certain subject that you're dealing with. So it's not that you respect, or it's not that I respect one individual more than another, because for me, respect is almost synonymous with the word understand. You know, so it's not that I'm gonna go out of my way to regard, because okay, here's the thing. Perfect. Where many individuals are using the word regard, I'm sorry, they're using the word respect. What they really should be using is the word regard. Like, I regard such and such more highly, or I regard such and such less. I hold them at a lower regard. But in fact, they're using the word respect, which is different, because respect means in respect to or in relation to. You know, how am I gonna deal with you? How am I, you know what I'm saying? So the more that you actually seek to actively understand the individuals or indivisibles, because I am not an individual, I am definitely an indivisible, but we'll get into that later. But the more you seek to actually understand what's around you, concepts, ideas, and the more you try to understand yourself, is the more you find that respect. You find that in relation to, you find, where am I in relation to the rest of the universe? What is my place in the universe? What am I? And how do things react to me? And how do I react to things? And what is going on here? And as you build your respect, it's like things cease to surprise you. You don't call that friend or loved one and they're going on with their foolishness and you're just like, really? Like, you're still going on with this? Why are you not doing such and such? Or, you know, that ceases because your respect has grown. Your respect or your understanding of their mentality or the way that they think has grown. You're respecting their mentality. You're not fooling around with it and trying to change it or flip it around, thinking that the result that you want is going to come out of it, because you already understand the result that is there, and that it is, and that it has been, and that is a property of the concept, is going to remain that way. Whether you come in the picture or not, that's how it's going to be. And that's what respect is that's the way the subject is. I'm going to leave it as that, and because I know it's that way, I'm going to step around it. You see what I'm saying? That's respect. In respect to that situation, I am here, and that situation is there, and I'm not going to try to push it. I'm not going to try to flip it, because I know it's not going to move, and it's not going to change. So here's what I'm going to do. And that's because you understand it. But if you don't understand, you're going to go and do all of that crap, and you're going to try and reject it. Why? Because there's nothing you can do about it. And that's why we find ourselves in so much trouble arguing with others and getting into scuffles and fights and all of this nonsense, and we find ourselves in all of this stress because we're not respecting them. We're not respecting their right to be ignorant or foolish or to be annoying. We're not respecting that. If that's the way they want to be, it's like, cool, like that's the way they are. I'm not going to flip around with them and try to make that person logical. Sorry, I used that bad word. A person is a corporation. I'm not going to try to make that being logical. I'm not going to try to make them into something that they're not. I'm just going to recognize that they are what they are, and I'm just going to, do my own thing in respect to that. And that's respect.